My name's Michelle, and I'd like to tell you about a holiday that's coming up on February 1st. It's called St. Brigid's Day, and it celebrates the life of a woman named Brigid. Now, Brigid is one of the patron saints of Ireland. That means she's very important to the church and to the people of Ireland. But here in the United States, sometimes we don't hear much about her. We usually hear more about another one of the patron saints of Ireland. Let's see if you can guess who it is. He has a holiday in March, and to celebrate, people often wear green. They might have a parade, and sometimes they eat corned beef and cabbage. Does that sound familiar? That's St. Patrick. And he's very important too, of course. But I really want to tell you about St. Brigid because I think she has an amazing story. Now, Brigid lived a long time ago. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago. This was before your grandparents were born. Okay? It was a time before they had cars. There wasn't any electricity or cell phones. And women at that time were expected to do their work and really not bother the men, basically. Now we know that's kind of silly because women can do anything that men can do. But back then, they really didn't believe that. And that's why I think the story of Brigid is so wonderful, because she did so many wonderful things. When Brigid was born, she lived with her mother. And they were very poor. They didn't have a lot of money, and sometimes maybe they didn't even have enough food to eat. But Brigid was a kind girl, and she was always wanting to look out for people who had even less than they did. Now, Brigid's mother's job was to make butter. They had a cow, and she'd milk the cow, and then when you let the milk set for a bit and then put it in a special churn, it can make butter. And the important thing about that is if you have butter, you can sell that to get other things that you might need. But Brigid went in the cottage one day and saw all of that butter and started thinking about people who didn't have anything to eat. And she took all that butter and gave it to all the people who needed food. Now her mother came home and she was pretty mad because Brigid had given all this butter away. But when they went back into the cottage, miraculously, all of the butter trays were filled back up. And I think that was the time that Brigid's mother started to understand that there was something very special about Brigid. When Brigid was about 10 years old, she went to live with her father. Now her father was very rich, but Brigid was sent there to be his servant. That meant that she had to do all of the cooking and the cleaning, all the jobs that had to be done around the house, Brigid had to do. And even though she was very busy, Brigid was still thinking of people who had less than she did. So if she saw someone who didn't have a blanket or needed food, she'd go into her father's house and get some for them. She'd just give everything away. Needless to say, this didn't make her father very happy that she was just giving everything in the house away. And he decided that he was going to sell Brigid to the king. The king, however, had already heard about Brigid. And he really didn't think he wanted her in his house and giving everything away. So he convinced Brigid's father to just let her go free, to let her do what she wanted to do. And what Brigid wanted to do was to learn about God, to pray, and to do the sort of things that she felt that God wanted her to do. And you guessed it, that included helping other people. Now, Brigid thought it would be good to have one place where people who were all working together to help other people could live. That's called a monastery. People are all learning about God and doing things that they think God wants them to do to help others. But Brigid was still pretty poor. She didn't have money to go buy land. So she went to the king and she said, "Hey, can you give me some land for a monastery?" And the king, I'm sure, laughed because remember, especially in these days, that girls and women didn't do things like that. They were supposed to be just quiet and sit in the background. So the king sort of laughed and said, "Of course, I'm not going to give you land for the monastery." But Brigid was very brave and she went back again and she said, "Hey, king, how about if you just give me as much land as my cloak will cover. Do you know what a cloak is? You know in Little Red Riding Hood, she has that little red cape? That's a cloak. It's probably about this size, right? So there's Brigid talking to the king saying, will you give me as much land as my cloak will cover? And I'm sure the king laughed at that as well. And he's, sure, okay, I'll give you how much we'll cover. But when Brigid took off her cloak and had 4 of her friends take each corner of the cloak, instead of just covering a little amount of land, it stretched and it stretched and it stretched, and it covered so much land there was plenty of room for them to build their monastery. The king wasn't quite sure what was going on, but he knew there was something special about Brigid. And so she got her land for the monastery. She was pretty smart that way. Now Brigid went on to spend the rest of her life helping other people and teaching them about God. There's lots of stories you can look up with your family to see the other amazing things that Brigid did. I wanted to tell you a little bit, though, about a St. Brigid's cross. And these are things that people in Ireland make on St. Brigid's Day to remember her. I have one right here. Traditionally, they're made out of rushes, which is a type of plant. The advantage in Ireland, though, that it's just starting to become spring. Here in Maine, in the Northeast United States, it's still winter out and we don't have anything green outside. So I made this one last year out of some reeds that you would make baskets with, but I'm going to show you an easier way to make them out of pipe cleaners. So to make this type of St. Brigid's cross, you're going to need 26 pipe cleaners. And it doesn't really matter what colors they are. You can just use whatever you have. If you'd like to make a pattern, that's fine too. Mine today is going to happen to have a pattern. These are the colors I'm going to be using today, and I wonder if you can guess why I picked those colors. Does it look a little bit like an Irish flag? It doesn't really have anything to do with St. Brigid's crosses. I just thought it would be easier to show you using some different colors, and why not use the colors of the flag. So you might notice that the first thing that I did was I folded the pipe cleaners all in half. And you want to do a kind of good job on this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want to fold them in half so the ends look like this. You want to have them pretty much even at the ends. I also took one of the pipe cleaners and I cut it into 4 pieces. We're going to use those at the end, so you can just set them aside for now. So the first thing we're going to do is think about a clock. Okay, pretend I have an invisible clock right here. 12 o'clock would be here, 3 o'clock, 6, 9. Okay, the most important things to remember with a St. Brigid cross is 12 o'clock. Okay, and that's just going to help it be easier for you to make one. So what do I mean by that? We're going to take our first pipe cleaner. I'm going to open it up, but I'm going to keep my finger where that bend was, just so I know where the middle was. I'm going to lay it down, and the top points to 12 o'clock. The bottom points to 6 o'clock, but 12 is the important part. So I'm going to take my next pipe cleaner, and when I put a new pipe cleaner on, it always goes on at 12 o'clock. Okay, that's the most important thing to remember. So I'm going to put it on until 12 o'clock. I'm going to slide it down to my fingers, and I kept my finger there because then I knew that was the middle of that pipe cleaner, okay? Give it a little pinch, and then we're going to take this one we just put on and give it a little twist. So now that one is at 12 o'clock, okay? We take our next pipe cleaner. Always go on at 12 o'clock. So I'll slide this one down. You can give that wire a little pinch. That helps keep it in place down there. And see, I've got them sitting right next to each other. I don't want to overlap it. Keep them nice and flat next to each other. And again, the wire helps you do that. In Ireland, these would traditionally be made of rushes, which is a type of plant. I've made them out of the type of reeds that you would make baskets out of. Those do need to be soaked first in water. The difficulty with those things is You have to hold all this weaving together in the middle as you're doing it. The nice thing about learning with pipe cleaners is that wire gives you an extra little hand to hold it together. Okay, so here's our new one we just put on, and we're going to twist it until it points to 12 o'clock, and it's ready for the next pipe cleaner. New one goes on at 12 o'clock, and then you give it a twist. And I find when you're learning how to do these, if it gets messed up somewhere along the way, it's usually because I've forgotten to give that little twist and point it back to 12 o'clock. And if you're doing this and it gets messed up, it's okay. Pipe cleaners are pretty forgiving. You can just take them apart, take the whole thing apart and start over again. It's all part of learning. It's all good. Okay, so then we take our next pipe cleaner, put it on at 12 o'clock, slide it down, make it look kind of flat and give that wire a little pinch there to help hold it together, and then turn it to 12 o'clock again. See? Okay, so then we're going to take our next pipe cleaner, put it on, always put them on at 12 o'clock, slide it down, give it the twist, on at 12, slide it down. See where I'm pinching it right at the end there? That helps kind of clamp it all together. And see, so with pipe cleaners, they'll stay by themselves. If you use reeds or rushes, it gets a little bit harder. So pipe cleaners are really good. Okay, so turn it back to 12. And put the next one on. Turn it back to 12. And you can see by using different colors, if you use 4 in a row, look at this, we'll slide this one down, give it that pinch and then turn it. If you use 4 in a row, it makes kind of a little square. It doesn't have to have that, but just kind of an extra fun little design in it. Okay, so take the next one. Goes on at 12 o'clock. Put it right on top of that white one. Give it a pinch and turn it. Let's see, next one on goes at 12 o'clock. Give it a pinch and turn it. Let's see, we're going to get a pretty orange square going here doing this. Okay, give it a good pinch. It's starting to get a lot of different layers in here, so you might want to just kind of squeeze it all over just to make sure it all stays together. Turn it. Put the next one on at 12 o'clock. Oops. Sometimes it's hard, you got to remember you get all those layers in there. Can you kind of see the square in the middle there? I guess mine looks more like a rectangle. That's all. It's all good. It's all part of the design. I don't want to forget to turn it. Let's see. Now I'm going to go back to green. See what that does. So always put them on at 12 o'clock. You can see here how it's kind of getting all these layers, and if you keep them flat, I think it looks nicer. Tighten them up, squish it down there good, turn it. If you're doing this with your family, you could each have different jobs. Maybe one person's job is to put the pipe cleaner on the top at 12 o'clock, right? Next person's job could be to squish it down. And then somebody's job is to turn it. Let's see. Back to 12 o'clock. Slide it down. Give it a good squish and turn it. So I got some fuzz on there. Okay. Slide it down. Hopefully this is making sense. If you always put them on at 12 o'clock and then remember to turn it to 12 o'clock, That helps me keep everything straight. Sometimes that one got a little bumpy. I just straighten it out. Okay, and give it a turn. See, so now I have a green square going there. So I think I'll do white now. 12 o'clock. Put your pipe cleaner all the way down over all of those others. Squish it in good. Give it a turn. Let's see. We are getting there. It's looking pretty good. Slide it down. Squeeze it all together and turn it. It's harder as you get all of these ones to slide it down over, but just take your time. Don't forget to turn it. Okay, let's see. Slide my pipe cleaner down at 12 o'clock. Okay, it's looking good. I have 4 orange left, and then we're going to be done. Well, almost done. Then I have to show you what we do at the end. So it can get a little jumbled here. Just try to straighten it out as you're going along. And if it's a little jumbled, that's okay too. It's all good. Turn it. Always put them on at 12 o'clock. Then turn it. And kind of a pretty design there in the middle with all 3 colors. And turn it. And the last one, and just when you think you have it all down, I'm going to add 1 extra little step in this one. I'll show you why. So we put the last one on. Make sure we get all of those in there. We slide it down just like normal. Right, give it a little squeeze there. There's one problem. You see what it is? This is kind of floppy over here. It's not all tied in like the other ones are. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little place for it to go. I'm going to take this pipe cleaner here and scooch it up just a little bit. Okay, see how that makes a little extra pocket there? And take my last pipe cleaner, tuck it right in that loop. I'm going to kind of pull it all through there. You see what that did? That took the last pipe cleaner and gave it a place to be secure under that pipe cleaner. So then we'll pull that one that we'd pushed up, we're just going to pull back down so it's snug. Okay, see, it locks it right in there. We'll even push on it just for an extra little lock there. And then this one isn't all floppy, it's secured right there. So there, we have all the weaving part done, but we've got to tie up the ends of this just to make it pull all together here. And that's when you're going to use these pipe cleaners that you cut up. You could use string, you could use rubber bands, but we've got pipe cleaners here, we might as well use them. So just bunch up the ends and give them a little twist. See? Doesn't matter at this point which way you turn it. You just want to make sure you get all 4 of them done. So do the next one here. And again, I try to straighten these out a little bit, make it look nice. Whatever you think looks good. See, this one's a little bent. Let's see. Kind of fluff out the ends. Go. And the last one. Ta-da! Now I'm going to show you how to make a different type of St. Brigid's cross. Like I said, there's all different designs depending on where you were in Ireland and what materials might be available. But this is just a second type of cross that you might see, and it's pretty easy to make. For this one, you're going to need 17 pipe cleaners. And you can see, just like the last one, I cut one into 4 pieces. We'll use that to tie up the ends. So we can just put those aside for now. And for this one, you have to make groups of 3. And again, you can use whatever colors you want, but they have to be, like here's a pile of 3, so you need to put them all in piles of 3. You should have 6 piles. So set them off to the side. I'm going to start with the white ones. Kind of straighten them out best you can. You do have a tendency to want to go a little bit wiggly, just like that. Okay, so I put those straight up and down. Take my next bundle of 3. Put those on top of them. And if this is the middle, these are a little bit above the middle. Another bundle of 3. Put them the same direction, and they're going to go a little bit below the middle. I'm not sure I have mine exactly in the middle right now, but we can fix that at the end. So the next thing that we're going to do is take a bundle, put them right to the side next to the white ones. Don't worry about those going a little crazy on the top there. So we're kind of made a square. Can you see this square with the green and orange ones? Okay. So far, so good. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, and it's good if you have a friend who can help you hold this down. We have one more step we have to do to weave it, and just another set of hands can be good. I'm going to actually use my scissors just to hold those together a little bit, but your friend's hand could be right here and help you hold that down. So we're going to take our last 3, kind of straightened out here, and we're going to weave them. And when you weave, sometimes things are on top and sometimes things are on the bottom. So we're going to put the white ones on top of these orange ones, but we want them underneath these white ones. We're going to kind of pick that up, scooch them under there. But then, to finish the weave, we need to have the white ones come back over the green ones. So you got to kind of do it gently, but pull them through. You see what we did? We put the white ones over the orange here, underneath the other white, and then over the green. Doesn't look too interesting right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to smush it together. So carefully move these green ones over. Once it's together, it looks a lot nicer. So you might have to move them one at a time. Move these orange ones over so they're all touching. See what's going on now? And we're going to move the white ones down. It may be easier if I do one at a time. You might want your friend helping you hold the top of this again. It's always good to work together. Green one down there. So what I'm doing is I'm getting them all touching down in the middle. See, now it looks nice. And it's woven. You can see where it goes over and then under and over and then under. And that's really the hardest part of this cross. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those little ones that we'd cut up, keep our ends kind of straight as much as we can, and twist one of the little pieces on the end. See? If you don't have it quite in the middle, I see mine's not quite in the middle, I can scooch it down a little bit so it's a little more centered. And you tie this end up. Oops, kind of starting to come apart there. Get them all tied up so they won't come apart. And twist one on here. And one last one. There we go. And you could leave them apart like that if you wanted to. I've seen some St. Brigid's crosses like that, where you can kind of see openings in between, or you can push them up closer together. I have seen ones like this as well. It's pretty much whichever way you like better. Kind of give it a little smush to flatten it out, and there you go. That's the second type of St. Brigid's cross. I hope you've enjoyed learning about St. Brigid today. If you're looking for more information, I'd recommend checking out the National Museum of Ireland's Facebook page. They have a wonderful piece that they've done on St. Brigid. And if you've made any crosses, please post them onto the Maine Irish Heritage Center's Facebook page. We'd love to see what you've done. Have a happy St. Brigid's Day!